Hi guys, and welcome to Crazy About Kickoff. I'm your host this episode, John, and I'm joined by Declan and Ben. How are we, boys?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
all good, man.
Good, nice. And this episode, we're going to talk about the 4 remaining games of the first leg of the round of 16, and we'll kick it off with my team, Chelsea, who have a two-legged affair against the reigning French champions, Lille. So, how do you boys see this game going, Ben? How do you feel it's going to go?
I feel it's with Chelsea, they're very good in Europe this year, aren't they? We can't lie. The last meeting, they last played each other in the 1920 Champions League season, and Chelsea won both times 2-1. If you look more recent form, they played Crystal Palace on the weekend and they didn't seem too good. Getting the 1-0 in the 89th minute, Lukaku not being very present. So I'm not too sure. And also, there's also a question whether Tuchel will rest any players for Sunday's final. I think, you'll have to see what happens there. It could be a big decision for them because, as you know, like Lille, they beat PSG to the title last year, but since then they've dropped off a little bit. 11th in League One this year. So I think he could afford to rest players, but you don't want it to come back and bite you in the arse.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, we'll have to talk about the Palace game and specifically the performance of one man up front for Chelsea, Lukaku. I mean, 7 touches in the whole game, 2 in the first half, one of which was the kickoff. It's the lowest number of touches anyone's had since Opta started gathering the data in 2003-4. I mean, look, I've been quite reserved about my criticism of Lukaku because I feel like he does still have a bit of time to come good, but I feel like time's running out for him now, Deck. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when it's that big a price tag, like 97 million, nearly a whole £100 million, like with Grealish, you're going to get a lot more scrutiny of your performance than if it was like, say, 50 million or like a bit less, you know what I mean? I think he's been all right, but he's been injured and he's not really in a system right now which suits his style of play, really.
Yeah, I think that's been a debate about who to put the blame on, really, because you've had Lukaku obviously expressing his discontent about the style and obviously some subtle hints about how he's feeling at the moment, and then you've got Tuchel who also seems unwilling to change anything in his system either. So it is a case of maybe one of them just needs to give their ego a bit of a rest and just try and play for the team rather than show each other who's in charge. But look, Chelsea still have quite a strong squad going into the game. Mason Mount obviously returned to training, but it'll be an interesting one whether he'll be in contention. I think Tuchel said most likely he'll be in the squad, probably won't be a starter, but any minutes we can get out of him before the final would be brilliant. See, James and Chilwell are still out, which is a big blow, and Hudson-Odoi still out, and Azpilicueta's got a muscle injury. But let's talk about Lille, because last season they seemed to be this fun side that beat PSG, which is always something that people can get behind, and they had a few journeymen in the team. They had a few hot players who had potential in the past but maybe haven't found their feet. What should we be looking for, Ben, when looking at this Lille side? Who are the key men for them?
Yeah, I think straight away you've got to mention Jonathan David. In Ligue 1 this year, he's played 25 and scored 12 goals. And in the Champions League, likewise, he's been in hot form. Played 6 of the group stage games and scored 3. I think he's electric, and this Canadian influx of players in Europe is going to keep growing as time goes on. He's just quick. He's a fox in the box. He's a nuisance to all defenders. And I'm intrigued to see how Chelsea are going to cope. Obviously, because they've got a bit of a problem with the wide fullbacks at the minute. Whether they're going to have to compensate and put Sarr and Christensen out on the wide areas, and then obviously Silva and Rudiger. But it might alter Chelsea's shape a little bit going into tonight's game.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been an issue on the left-hand side, especially in that sort of wing-back position. And I think he's sort of found Malang Sarr to be a good stopgap in terms of he's not a complete disaster, and he can do the defensive bits well. But another guy that the neutrals might know in this Lille side is Renardo Sanchez, who has obviously played in the Premier League when he had that slightly disastrous loan spell with Swansea under Paul Clement. But he's joined Lille, and since then he's still only 24, and he seems to have found his way back into a bit of form and looks like a pretty good player, Deck, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's always had that like kind of potential. Obviously, when he went to Bayern and stuff, everyone was like, well, that makes sense. He looked like one of the most promising talents in Europe. He has sort of fell off a bit, hasn't he? But as you say, he's bounced his career back really at Real. And he has been linked with like the likes of Liverpool in the past, Arsenal and Wolves. Wolves were apparently really, really close to sign them. And then the player either said, no, what, he got injured or something, I think. So, yeah, caused Chelsea some problems, I think.
Yeah, I think what will be what makes this game even more interesting is we've seen already the impact that the scrapping of away goals has had on some of the ties. You've seen Real Madrid go to the Parc des Princes and basically try and play for a 0-0. Is this another issue now where, because obviously Chelsea finished second in the group, so they have the home leg first, are Lille just going to come and try and play for a draw and try and back themselves to win in France? What do you think, Ben?
I think they very well could do. They could do, yeah. But I think, as I said to you a couple of times, obviously talking about Chelsea and Liverpool, being Chelsea and Liverpool fans, I myself would say that Chelsea have got that European pedigree that City haven't, maybe. And I don't believe that Chelsea have got it in them to go away and make it ugly like that. I think Chelsea have an understanding as a club of what it takes to be in the Champions League. As the Liverpool, I'd happily say that Chelsea and Liverpool, and out of the English teams anyway, are the two sides that understand the competition the most at the minute. So I don't think they should really go away for the draw. Whether they will or not, another question. But I just wanted to highlight another key player before we move on to for Lille. That's Sven Botman. He's only 22 years old at the back for them, and he'll be licking his lips tonight with a couple of them aerial matchups. Linked with Newcastle and AC Milan. He's a big lad as well, and he scored 3 goals in the league this season, I think. So that could be a big threat for Lille going in there tonight.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at some of the key matchups, I think it'll be, obviously Lille have some good players out wide. You're looking at the play like Jonathan Bamba, who was really good last season, has dropped off a bit this season, but still is a big threat. But yeah, it'll be those wide positions, whether Chelsea get the wing back selection right, and it'll be if Lukaku can make the ball stick or if Sven Botman can get the better of him. I think one player that neutrals might be a bit disappointed to be missing out on is Angel Gomez. Obviously, was talked about so much at United. Then he moved to Lille, went on loan in Portugal for a while, did quite well there. He's now back at Lille, but is out for this game. We'll move on to the United game now, because they've got what is quite an interesting clash, in my opinion, between them and Atletico Madrid, because I think any other season you'd see this and think this is a big boy, this is a heavy hitting clash where one of the maybe contenders is going out. But both teams this season have probably flattered to deceive a little bit and are both struggling to find the form, both in the league and in Europe. What do you make of this game, Declan?
I think it's a battle of like teams who aren't performing well, really. Like United are fifth. Atletico are fifth in the league, 15 points behind Madrid, and United are just about escaping fourth, aren't they? At the minute, I think. So yeah, it is a game of two teams that are really not as good as they maybe once were.
Yeah, and I think Atletico Madrid, their record in the Champions League this season has not been great. They only won 2 games. Obviously, they were part of that perceived group of death that Liverpool routinely made their way through. And they breezed past it. And they sort of became the best of the rest between them, AC Milan and Porto. And to be fair,
they were all shit.
Yeah, they were all shocking. So finishing second in that group just means you're the best worst team in it. But yeah, they've got a few players out. You're looking at Thomas Lamar's out, Daniel Vass, Matthias Cunha, Koke missed training, so he might not be fit. But if Atletico are gonna maybe try and make a statement in this game against United, who are going to be the key players for them in this game, Ben?
I think that man's Luis Suarez. At Liverpool, he had a lot to say against United, some bad and some very good. But I think he's going to want to come into this game tonight and renew his rivalry with United and put on a big show and use some of his old school shithousery.
Yeah, I think the shithousery is something that Atletico are well versed in now, especially with Simeone still at the helm. One player I think that a lot of people will hope can do a lot, but maybe has struggled so far since his time at Atletico is João Felix. Obviously, he moved for some big boy money a few years ago, and it seemed like a good signing, but it also seemed like one that wouldn't really fit Atletico, and I think that's been proven to be the case. Yeah. Another player they lost in January to Newcastle is Kieran Trippier, and how big a blow do you think that'll be, Deck, to Atletico Madrid's defence?
Yeah, big blow. I think Trippier, he's gone under the radar a bit. I think, like, obviously people come up with this, like the Trent, Cancelo, Walker, Reece James debate. Trippier's obviously up there. He's in the England squad ahead of most of them. As much as I don't necessarily agree with Trent being left out, we've spoken about that before, but Trippier is still at, I think it's like 30, 31, 32, so a very good elite level right back. So Newcastle pulled off a coup, in my opinion, getting him in. I know he is injured now, but an Atletico, it's a big loss ultimately. Who's he going to play there? Visalco, whatever he's called. I don't really rate him from what I've seen.
I think they've played Llorente there as well in the past, haven't they?
Yeah.
Marcus Llorente. But
could work, but he's more of a midfielder, isn't he? Really? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they shape up. We talk about Man United and with the team they've got. I think one player has stood out for United above everyone in this season in Champions League, and that man is Mr. Champions League himself, Cristiano Ronaldo. And look, his rivalry with Atletico Madrid is woven into his footballing legacy at this point. He's had rivalries at Real Madrid. He had a rivalry with them at Juventus. He will be really, really keen to make an impact and knock these boys out again.
Yeah.
Apart from Ronaldo and trying to get him into the game as much as possible, who else do United need to give the ball to, and who else do they need to utilise to get the best out of their team this game, Ben?
I'd say Jadon Sancho's in fine form. He's a unique player, isn't he? Because he offers so much off the ball and on the ball. He gives you that element of like flair with creativity sprinkled in there a little bit. Just the way he gets himself so composed and picks out a pass well. And I think they'll be wanting to get him on the ball tonight because, the Metropolitano, the Wanda, it's quite a wide pitch. If you can utilise that, as we were saying before, losing Trippier is a big blow. So I imagine that right back, whoever it may be, will be pairing up against Sancho on the left. So if he can cut inside and do his thing, then it should be a decent night for him. Another man who I want to highlight who could potentially get a start tonight is Anthony Elanga. Getting a goal against Leeds was a big thing for him. Apparently, I've heard that he's a fan favourite over there at Old Trafford. So the future's looking bright for him. It'd be a big show of faith from Ralph, but we've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, no, I think we discussed Elanga on our Premier League review show earlier, and I think we can all agree that he's got a lot of talent. A guy who maybe has not as much talent in the United team is probably Harry Maguire, but look, he got his goal against Leeds, and it seemed to. You could tell there was a bit of emotion behind it when he did score. You could tell that he needed something like that. Is it a case of just sort of trusting Maguire to see out the rest of the season, maybe partnering him with Varane or Lindelof or Bailly, or does he need to be dropped in games in the Champions League where it is important and United are still in contention? What do you think, Deck?
I think a lot of the criticism of Maguire is harsh myself. I just think United this season haven't been that good. It's not just on Maguire. He's the captain yet, but like, I think he's not even that bad a defender, really.
Yeah, I think sometimes it almost goes the complete other way. I think he got a lot of praise for his performances with England, and now I feel like because the whole United as a whole were underperforming and being quite underwhelming, I think his character and the way he is doesn't keep him clear of any criticism, and I feel like he does get quite a bit of a brunt of that. A player as well who's looked quite good for United, Ben, since he's come back into the fold, has been Paul Pogba. And the Champions League has a slightly different style of football that might suit him better. What do you think?
Yeah, so I highlight this every time as someone asks me. I was a big admirer of Pogba when he played for Juventus, and that comes part and parcel with the league he played in, really. You know, the Italian league, it's, as we've seen with Liverpool versus Inter Milan last week, you know, they give you space. It's quite slow, you know, it suits people who can't perhaps put 15, 16k in a game like Pogba. Someone who, you know, when you need them for them big moments, will provide. And I think, as you were saying, with the Sancho and right-back matchup for Atletico, I think the pitch is wide enough to benefit Pogba tonight, given the space. You know, we all slate him because of the stupidity of like the dancing and stuff like that, but he is a world-class player. You know, as soon as he puts a France shirt on, he shows everyone why he's world-class. And I'm hoping for, you know, a neutral point of view that we can get a good Paul Pogba performance tonight, because he is, as you say, world-class on his day when it's the right environment. I know that shouldn't really be an excuse. So you've got to always, you know, perform well, but for Pogba, not being a United fan and not caring about the situation what they're in, I think that the best Pogba is when he's playing in the Champions League with more space, more time on the ball. You know, he hasn't got your likes of Leeds players, Aston Villa, your Brentford's running at him consistently. You know, it suits him down to the ground. But I just wanted to touch on Maguire and the scenario behind Maguire. It's been well documented with United that there's problems higher than Maguire in the boardroom. I think United's problems are very, very like deep at the minute. You know, the way the club's run is the worst possible like thing for them at the minute. They need to sort that out first and foremost. There's talk this week of Ralph not staying after this season, even in a director's role. You know, now because a lot of people aren't impressed with him. You talk about Pochettino. Does Pochettino come in and change that side? I'm not too sure he does. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I think United need a big summer, not just in terms of the playing staff, but also the non-playing staff. I think when Ralph came into United, our biggest concern is terms of we don't want another competitor like United coming back into the fold was the damage he was going to do post this season when he is higher up, when he can use his connections, when he can go and scout and he can direct things from a position of power in the club. And I feel like it just sums up United, the fact that he's meant to have this manager role as a temporary fix to their solution and also to give him a bit of time to embed himself into the club. And already they're talking about getting rid of him. I think it is a bit of a disaster class in terms of they seem to change their mind on the direction they want to go every season. And it's just created this mess that they're in now. But we'll move on to a matchup that maybe won't get that many neutrals excited, but for one team, it's a big stage for them. It's Villareal Juventus. Maybe I'm not excited about it because we've already beaten both. Chelsea have already beaten both these sides this season.
You did get beat by Juve as well. But yeah, just for one thing in there about that Atletico match that we forgot. If United want to have success in this match, just bloody shoot. Jan Oblak has been in the worst form of his life. He's been terrible this season. He's just been a shadow of the goalkeeper that basically eliminated Liverpool the other year, because without Oblak in that goal, any other goalie in that goal that night, maybe not Alisson, I don't know, but we go through that night if it's any other goalie in that goal. but he's not on that same level anymore, or Black, so not this season anyway. So I think United just need to get them shots. Give the ball to Ronaldo or Sancho, let them boom and goal, and they will probably go through.
Yeah, I think he's gone from the keeper with the best save percentage in
to like the second worst or something like that.
Yeah, the second worst. Or it might even be the worst at this point in Europe, which is just surprising. It's like he's decided to pull an Eden Hazard and have a season off and come back again.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's had a couple now, and come on.
Yeah, but we'll move on to Villareal Juventus. For Villareal, this is a big one. They haven't been in the knockout stages of this competition since the 08-09 season, and I mean, United were still winning league titles at that point in history. So, look, they've put in some good performances in Europe this year. They put in some good performances last year in the Europa League. What have you made of Villareal this season, and maybe part of last season as well, Ben?
Oh, listen, good evening, first and foremost, gents. We're all aboard the Yellow Submarine tonight. I think Villareal have been a belter to watch this season. I like the young like mentality of the group. The underdog mentality really seeps through. You've got your likes of Danjuma and Chukwueze, electric on the wing. Highlighted in my notes before this, Danjuma scored a hat-trick in the 4-1 win that they had over Granada on the weekend, and apparently on all accounts he looked fire. So I'll be keen to see how he does tonight against obviously Juventus, but sixth in La Liga at the minute for Villareal. They had a tough group stage, but they saved the best till the last performance where they beat Atalanta to progress. The wide matchups are definitely going to be key tonight.
Yeah, I think what's really endearing with Villareal is they're a team that sometimes is happy to take the misfits from other teams and turn them into something better. You look at Danjuma, who came from Bournemouth. You look at Coquelin, who was sort of just floating about at Arsenal. You look at Etienne Capoue, who was at Watford, Lo Celso, who has been at Spurs but not really getting much game time. But yeah, I mean, they're sixth in the Liga, so they're doing probably as well as they'd kind of expect to at this point. They're in some fairly good form, only one loss in the last 5 games. And I think for them, the key will be remaining defensively solid, which when they played us in the Super Cup final, and they played United in the Europa League final at the start of this season, the end of the last one, I think we all praised them for the defence, and that's built on the centre-backs. You've got Pau Torres, Raul Albiol, Juan Foyth, and they're 3 players who together make some really good defensive partnerships, don't they, Dec?
Yeah. As you said, they were very, very impressive against United. I can't say I watched the Super Cup. Don't know where I was, but I didn't watch it. But yeah, I think a lot of the players you previously mentioned, though, like the likes of Capoue and Lo Celso and that, are out, or either out or injured also. No Gerard Moreno either, which is a big blow. I know he's a key player for them, isn't he? So we'll see. It's an interesting matchup, but I just think Juve might have a bit too much strength, especially with the signing of Dusan Vlahovic.
Yeah, I mean, he's already come in and made as good an impact, I think, as anyone expected. I think as well, Villareal, you've got Aboula Diaye, who 16 matches, 4 goals. You maybe need something a bit more from him, but they've still got a lot of quality in that side. But we'll look at Juventus now, and they're having another season in Serie A, which you don't really expect from them. They're 4th in Serie A. They in the group, I have to say they were fairly impressive until they came to Stamford Bridge, and I don't know what happened on that day. We played really well. They were shocking, and I think it might have just been one of those games. But look, they still topped the group. Only 2 wins in their last 5. They are struggling in the league, Juventus, and they're not really looking like one of the favourites in the Champions League this year that they may have in the past. But you look at the signings in Vlahovic and Denis Zakaria. Do you think they'll give them a big enough boost, Ben, to maybe get them further in this competition this season?
100%. We'll save the best till last of the 2. I want to just talk a bit about Zakaria first. He was linked with Liverpool for a long time, and a couple of others in the Prem. But he adds a lot of balance to the engine room. He's been compared a lot to Gini Wijnaldum when Wijnaldum was in that role at Liverpool, doing the dirty work, putting the hard yards in, winning possession, progressing up the field. And I think with your Locatelli and Rabiot as his midfield partners, I think that's a real engine room now. It'll add a lot to their game in terms of their balance on defence and on attack as well. And obviously, let's talk about Vlahovic. 24 games played and 18 goals in all comps for both Fiorentina and Juventus this season. Last season, he was stellar. He's a big boy as well, but so quick for a big lad. He's like Haaland, but if Haaland was even bigger, do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking,
scary, that.
You know what I mean? He's a big boy. So I'm thinking it could be a big night for him. He's never played in the Champions League before. He'll want to get off to a flyer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he is a scary prospect. As good as Villareal are defensively, I feel like he might cause them a few problems. You've got Juventus, their back line has always been a bit of a mismatch this season. You've got Cuadrado sometimes playing right back, who in reality should probably be playing a bit higher up. You've got Danilo playing centre back, who really should be playing at right back. You've got some good centre backs. You've got obviously your aging ones like Chiellini and Bonucci, who obviously can't feature as much, maybe because they're moving on a bit. And then you've got obviously Matthijs de Ligt, who, as imposing as he looks, doesn't always look and create the most solid defence. What sort of partnership will we be looking at, Deck, do you think, for Juventus in this game at centre back?
Seems like you said, maybe a Danilo and De Ligt one. I think De Ligt, obviously, he needs to improve on his early. He showed early promise at Ajax, didn't he? But he hasn't really at the height anyone was expecting with this Juve side. Really.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you guys have seen it when he was at Ajax and they had like their end of year celebration. He did about what Ajax and what it meant, and he looks like a guy who wasn't just going to be a top quality centre back, was going to be a club captain for a club like Juventus, who was going to step up and be these like generational centre backs, and it just hasn't worked out like that. But these are both sides who, I think Juventus this season, they've played their best football when they've tried to absorb the pressure and probably play a bit on the break. That's how they got a lot of success out of us in the first game in Turin. Villareal sort of similar. They're happy to sort of absorb a lot of pressure and then counter with the players out wide. When two teams both prefer this sort of counter-attacking style, what normally is the outcome on these sort of games, Ben?
It's usually a feisty encounter. I think Juventus will want to be playing on the counter. I know they're lacking in the defensive area. Danilo's traditionally a right back, but if they can get the crosses into their box defended well, I think they pose a big threat on the counter. As we say, they've got the legs now in midfield. Going forward, you've got Vlahovic, you've got Cuadrado. So I think it should be a good night for Juve.
Yeah. I think Juve will be expecting to get a win in this game, but we'll move on to the final game of this week, and it is probably historically got pace, got pedigree pouring out of it. You've got 6 Champions Leagues between the two sides, Benfica versus Ajax, and look, we'll talk about Benfica first because I feel like everyone loves talking about Ajax these days because they are such a beautiful, sexy side. But we'll talk about Benfica. This season in the Champions League, very sort of middle of the road form. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. However, that was in a group with Bayern and Barcelona.
Yeah.
Barcelona, who are now playing in the Europa League, while Benfica are still in the Champions League. So you've got to give them a lot of credit in that respect. Third in Liga NOS, which behind Porto and Sporting, not the worst position. I think as long as you're in that top 3 as one of them sides, that's sort of where you want to be. Runners up in the Portuguese League Cup, but they've got a few players that are catching people's eye this season, Ben, aren't they? And one of them is Darwin Núñez.
100%. He was targeted by West Ham. I think it was on deadline day they submitted a bid for him. Played 26 this season and scored 23 goals in all comps. I think he's 22 years of age, young Uruguayan, hungry. We know how Uruguayans can be historically, us Liverpool fans. So, if he can hit the ground running in the Champions League and put himself out there on the big stage, I think, the future's bright for this kid.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential and will hopefully want to make an impact in these sort of games. At the back as well, they've got 2 players that Premier League fans like us will know very well. You've got Jan Vertonghen and Nicolas Otamendi. Now, maybe they're a bit too old for the Prem, but in the Champions League deck, do you think they could still have an impact and still be a good influence on this Benfica side?
In terms of leadership, maybe, yeah, but I think they're going to have quite a tough time against a man we'll talk about in a minute, Sebastian Haller, and the likes of Antony as well, and Dusan Tadic. I think they're going to have a tough time myself.
Yeah, I think it will be a battle. I mean, Otamendi, he won't shy away from a battle like that, so I think that'll be a really key match with Vertonghen as well. He's more than happy to throw his weight around in that. See, they came off a disappointing draw in the league against Boavista, and they did pip Barcelona to second place in the group. Barcelona were maybe not even as good as they were now at that point. They were looking like a bit of a shambles. I think it was like no shots on target in the first 2 or 3 games for them. So maybe it is a bit of a false dawn for this Benfica side, but still a lot of potential. One player as well, I'm sure people want to look at, is a man who will hopefully bring some FIFA 12 form to the table in Mr. Adel Taarabt. And Ben, we know that Adel Taarabt has the sauce. But for Benfica, he's almost been playing a bit more in midfield, which is a bit of a weird thing to see, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we know he's got the sauce, but tonight he needs to be the sorcerer. He needs to do it properly tonight and play with a mature head on his shoulders, but give us a little sprinkling of that FIFA 12, FIFA 13, that 5-star skills, them saucy dribbles. I think he's got it in his game. I haven't really seen too much of Benfica this season besides the Champions League to know what he's like in the league. But, Adel Taarabt, the streets will never forget that baller.
No, the streets will never forget Adel Taarabt because he
like Hazard in it, you know what I mean? Streets will never forget him.
Don't do that to my boy like that. I mean, look, in the league this season, Adel Taarabt, he's played 15 times, 1 goal, 2 assists. Obviously, he's playing a bit deeper. He's played 5 games in the Champions League without any goal contributions. But once again, he is that sort of. He does have an impact in these games, and he is called upon to play in these big Champions League games. So hopefully, we'll see a bit more from him tonight. We'll move on to the entertainers, the Mavericks, the people's champions of the Champions League, the man that Ben has the cap to represent, Ajax. And look, played 6-1-6, just like your boys' team, Liverpool. They did it in some serious style. And they did it with one man shining, Sebastian Haller. What did you think, Dec, when you saw Sebastian Haller break Erling Haaland's goal record for a group stage?
What the fuck? That's what I thought. Because, no, but seriously, especially from a Premier League perspective, obviously, I'd heard of him I think it was Frankfurt, wasn't it? And I knew he was quite good. And I thought, someone like Chelsea might go in for him and take that gamble. And I bet you're glad they never, because he was rubbish at that. I mean, I know he scored that lovely overhead kick goal, and maybe West Ham could have given him more time. But he wasn't that good when he comes to the Premier League. And then he goes and breaks the group stage record and scores 10 goals in the group stage, which no one's ever even done before. Not even your Messis, your Ronaldos, your Salahs. You kind of... I'll give you Hazards as well, maybe. Yeah. But, even these unbelievable players haven't done that. But Sebastian Haller can say yes, so kind of find that quite mad. But I think it sums up Ajax this season, really done it. In the league, I think they've scored something stupid, 70 goals and only conceded 5. What?
Yeah, I mean, they've been unbelievable in every competition they've been in. Since the group stage, they've only lost 1 game and won 10. They're in the semi-finals of the Dutch Cup, top of the Eredivisie. Sebastian Haller, like we said, top goal scorer this season in the Champions League with 10 goals, scored in every group game. And look, the attacking prowess of this side, Ben, cannot be understated because they just score goals for fun, don't they, this Ajax side?
100%, like Dex said, Haller, he's been a revolutionary signing for them. And I think if you compare this side with the Ajax side of 18-19, it's the first appearance, obviously, in the knockout stages. But when comparing the two sides, I think that there's such different sides, but they still work as a side, both of them. You had that team in 18-19 where they were very possession-based, very flirty, very European. Whereas this side is more like, I don't want to say dirty, but like, the route one, like get the balls in the box, get Haller with his head or his aerial ability. I think it's just a proper well-rounded side. You've got Tadic's creativity and flair, Anthony, young star in the making. Obviously, I think Gravenberg's missing out tonight, but tomorrow night. But I think he's a generational talent in the making potentially too. But yeah, it's been crazy to see that, because obviously Ajax could have really been on the slide a couple of years ago when he ended up in the Europa League and then he went out to Getafe. Obviously had that incident with Ryan Babel on the pitch where he took the piss out of the defender for diving. But they've bounced back really well. I think Ten Hag, I don't think a lot of people expected Ten Hag to stay at Ajax for as long as he has after that team of 18-19, but fair play to him, he stuck to his guns, and he's crafted another very, very well-rounded team that looks like they could go very far.
Yeah, I
think that's the most impressive thing. Sorry, John, but I think that's the most impressive thing about Ajax. Where they lost all them players, they've bounced back and they're getting back into like the knockouts of the Champions League. Not many teams can do that.
Yeah, the way they lost your Frankie de Jongs, your Matthijs de Ligt, players of such high caliber and have replaced them with not even new signings, but just bringing players through time and time again as well is really impressive. Look, they've only lost one game in their last 21 Champions League away games, which was to Liverpool. They've only Bayern scored more goals in the group stage. Ajax scored 20, they scored 22. And look, there's a lot of history in this tie between them and Benfica. They played each other in the 1972 semi-final, which Ajax then went on to win, and also in the 1969 quarter-final. So there's a lot of history, and obviously there's talk about that Benfica hoodoo of the curse and not being able to win. Curse. Yeah, the Gutmann curse, not being able to win a European trophy. But this has the making of a very tasty affair. You've got two teams with ballers, with creativity, with flair oozing out of them, with some exciting young players. And I think more than anything, we just hope that it lives up to the billing, because this could be a really good tie with some of the players that will be on display. But if we had to pick one potential maybe upset for these 4 games, where do you think the upset might come? If you can call it an upset, even if the team.
For starters, I don't think you could. Atletico United shouldn't be in there, because either them going through wouldn't necessarily be an upset. I think maybe. Well, I think Benfica beating Ajax would be an upset. I'm not sure it happens though, so I'm going to say Villareal beating Juve, because I think even though Juve aren't the same as they used to be, they still should be getting through against Villareal. So if Villareal do it, a little bit of an upset, I think.
My pick for an upset, sorry John, but I'm thinking Lille maybe, Jonathan David's a man in form and a man with a purpose, he might be looking to impress, to potentially get a move. Botman as well, there's a lot of players in there with a lot of media attention at the minute, and ones that could potentially perform when needed the most, and they could exploit the fact that Chelsea have got a bit of a leaky defence, and Lukaku's playing a bit shit as well. So yeah, Lille's my one to watch for this week's fixtures.
Yeah, I think you're being generous saying Lukaku's only been playing a bit shit at the moment, but it is a concern. And look, Jonathan David as a striker, Sven Botman as a centre back, 2 positions that Chelsea might be looking at in the summer. So if they shine against us, maybe we just have to have a little mosey down and try and pick them up. But yeah, look, it's an interesting round of games, and obviously we'll review the games later in the week, and we've also got a Carabao Cup final preview coming up, which will be
and then
incredibly
the episode
tasty.
after that could be juicy, you know.
Yeah, that could be also
all depends on the result.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes, but yeah, that's all from us. Obviously, if you're liking what you're hearing and you're seeing, subscribe, leave some comments if there's anything you want us to talk about or anything you want to discuss in the comments. Follow us on Twitter at crazy_kickoff. Follow us on Instagram at crazykickoff. We'll see you guys next time.
Take it easy.
Cheers,